of people are like, oh, I didn't do it today.
Right.
I'm gonna do it tomorrow. It's like, okay, well, I'm here. I walked in. Let me do something.
Do something.
Let me stretch for 10 minutes.
Just go. Just put on your gym clothes and walk through the door, right? Because chances are once you do that, you'll hop on a machine, right? You'll do something.
Welcome to the Healthier Everyday podcast, where we talk about your health, your fitness, your mindset, the food you eat, and putting it all together to create an amazing lifestyle. In this episode, Kristen and Mitch talk about how to stick to an exercise plan, especially when the daily grind at work can make that difficult. They discuss the dangers of being too sedentary, and they provide simple ways you can combat these effects. Dr. Kristen Farrell-Turner is Pritikin's licensed psychologist. She has published several peer-reviewed articles on a variety of topics. Currently, she is teaching multiple classes at Pritikin and help guests face the challenges and stressors that are unique to people trying to live a healthy life in today's modern age. Mitchell Baker is an exercise physiologist at Pritikin. He helps thousands of guests achieve better cardiovascular conditioning, strength, and flexibility by teaching classes and working one-on-one in person and virtually. Enjoy today's episode and don't forget to like and subscribe.
You know, it's very difficult, and so we can relate to the guests how difficult it is to maintain like a healthy lifestyle, because you know we have a job and other factors that play into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I try my best to stay healthy. I think of it as like a relationship, so I always like have a plan. So, for example, like I work, like say if I work Monday through Friday, I get off like at 4 o'clock. Like I make sure that I'll at least do like 2 or 3 times of a week of working out. It can be a variation of cardio or strength training. And I just kind of go off how I feel, you know, and kind of something we talk about here is like how you feel, but also in exercise too. It's something we talk about is rate of perceived exertion. So as stress levels, as you get more tired, like your perceived effort is going to be a little bit different per day. So I kind of go off that as I work out. So maybe I don't really feel like doing a lot of cardio, but I feel pretty good to do weightlifting. I'll take my effort and do to the weightlifting. And maybe the next day I might do cardio. You know, I just have a relationship with it. I try not to be so hard on myself because there's a lot of things that happen, but at least if I can make my goals, so I say I'm going to do 3 or 4 times a week, I just make sure I hit those goals. I don't worry too much if it's on a Monday or a Tuesday or Wednesday because things change. You know, I might work a day a little bit longer. I might have a short day. I might have a day off. So I use those days to make sure I fit into my plan the best I can, you know, and I think that's a good approach because nothing is ever constant, you know, and a lot of people will come and try to I got to do it this day, do this day. It's like, no, like maybe do 2 or 3 days, whatever day you can fit into there. You give it your best shot, you know, maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes, but something that you can maintain for that duration of the time is the key. And if you continue to make it consistent, that's when the changes come.
Now, you just said something I'm not very familiar with, the rate of perceived exhaustion.
Exertion. Yeah.
Which maybe makes you become exhausted. But
yes.
Yeah, so what is the rate? So what is the rate of perceived exertion?
So something we use in the gym, so it's their perceived effort on exercise.
Okay.
So it's a scale that we use in the gym. It goes 6 to 20. And it's usually it's called the Borg scale. And it kind of helps the guests understand what it's supposed to go. So the 6 to 20, I usually recommend if you put a 0 at the end of those numbers, relatively, that's kind of where your heart rate will be at after certain exertions.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so usually the no exertions like 60 to 80, usually resting heart rates from 60 to 80, nothing's really happening. Then maybe you start walking and then maybe activity comes. That's usually on the gym, it's blue. That's usually 9, 10, 11. So heart rate's usually probably in the 90s to 100s. It's elevated, but you're not really doing much effort. And then the somewhat hard is usually what we call steady state or just moderate intensity, 12, 13, 14. Usually the heart rate might be in that zone. But what's cool about here, we don't tell people to get to those heart rates. We want to coach effort because it can change. Like my 14 will be different than your 14. It's a very good subjective measure because you can use that to see how you're doing throughout the week. So you felt like a 14 and you did 20 pounds, and then maybe next week you felt like a 14, you did 30. That's a big jump, but it shows that, hey, that my perceived exertion that day was a 14. I had more energy. It actually felt easier. And it's a way for them to kind of determine like they're getting better in the gym. Maybe I'm tired, like my exertion is going to be a lot lower because I'm super, super tired. But if I have the energy, I can use my exertion to do more, depending on how I feel. It's kind of something you guys talk about, like how you're feeling and really being aware of what's going on and how you feel, making sure that you're aware of it, but also not let it detriment you when you're doing things.
Right. But one thing, so as you were talking, I had a question about what you typically recommend to people and maybe what you practice yourself too. So on those days, maybe it was like a longer day at work than you expected, or you're just tired for whatever reason, maybe a little bit run down or something. You know, how how do you kind of gauge then, what would be a good like workout for you with this RP scale?
Yeah. So for example, say I'm on my feet all day, right? I've taught 6 classes, 7 classes. Maybe my legs are already tired that day. I might focus more on upper body exercises because I hadn't really used that too much. Or for today, I taught more lectures. So my legs actually feel pretty fresh. So after this podcast, I'm actually going to go work out. I'm going to do a little bit more legs than I usually would do upper body because I feel good in that area. So I kind of go up how I feel in the activity. If I've been sitting all day, I'm pretty sure my legs are going to be pretty fresh. But if I'm walking and doing things, that's probably going to make me a little bit more tired. Then I might do something else. Maybe I'm too tired to lift any weights. Maybe I've been picking up boxes all day or moving equipment around or training people all day. You know what? I'm just going to do a bike for 30 minutes. It's something very simple to get some cardio in. It's not too taxing, but I still did something. And that's what's going to keep them going is the consistency of the workout. You can do it for a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I use the example of like brushing your teeth. Like you brush your teeth one day, it does nothing. You brush your teeth for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. That's when you start seeing real changes in the teeth. It makes it healthy, make sure that you're not developing other issues with the teeth and anything like that. So that's kind of one of the analogies I use. You just continue to do it over and over again. Yeah,
but what I'm hearing you say too that I think is really helpful with regard to consistency, it's not necessarily doing the same workout all the time, right? I mean, and especially I'm thinking with this, not only the RPE scale, but also kind of like your work day and kind of fitting it all in. Because when I work with people as well, a lot of what they say is, at the end of the day, I don't really feel like doing it, right? And sometimes it was a tough, longer day. But with the consistency, it's more like, okay, so just on those, still work out, right? Still keep your routine of doing something, but just go ahead and do something a little bit lighter. That's kind of what you're saying, right? Or like you said, if I'm on my legs all day long, maybe then my workout will involve more upper body or vice versa.
Right.
But still keeping the consistency with doing something, but just being a little bit more flexible with what you're doing and your exertion level.
Right. And you're kind of being nicer to yourself that way. You're not throwing yourself under the bus. Like a lot of people are like, I didn't do it today.
Right.
I'm going to do it tomorrow. It's like, okay, well, I'm here. I walked in. Let me do something. Let me stretch for 10 minutes.
Right.
We need flexibility too. So there's a lot of things you can do. And that's what's cool about the program here. We introduce so many classes. Some people like aqua. That's a good way for someone to do resistance training. It's low impact, but they're doing weights in the water.
Right.
They might find that fun. We have the dance class. That's a good way for cardio as well. It's not something you're thinking about. And if they can find things that they don't think it's exercise, but more of something they like to do, that can help them actually do the actual exercise, which is, we try to preach that too. Like, what do you enjoy? So people like walking. Perfect. Continue to walk. We don't want you to stop walking. But it's tough. It's hard to gauge. And what are some of the tips that you tell people when I hear motivation's a thing. Is there something that you talk about?
Yeah, I hear a lot of that too. I don't have motivation. I hear a lot of, I don't have willpower. I don't have discipline, and I think sometimes too, they get caught up in, I have to do it this way or it has to be this. And for some people, having some kind of schedule and structure, I actually think for most people, it can be really helpful. And some people do benefit, okay, I'm going to do my structured workout at the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then they kind of can plan, especially their work day accordingly. Although things always happen and it helps to be flexible. And I do also recommend people like just put on your gym clothes and walk through the door, right? Because chances are once you do that, you'll hop on a machine, right? You'll do something, or just, put on those walking shoes and walk out your front door. Just tell yourself you're going to walk around the block, because you will. And then you'll probably walk around it a few times, right? You'll just, even those days you don't feel like it or you don't feel motivated, just like put on the clothes and, walk out your front door. With motivation, one of the things I do, or I hope to do, is elicit like their intrinsic motivators, because there's, of course, a lot of what they, I guess, want to kind of like look like, just to feel more attractive. I mean, that obviously that comes up a lot, but that's all a lot of that is kind of like, societal, I kind of, I should look fit, or it's, nice to look good, which can be, it's not necessarily
a wrong goal.
It's not, it's not necessarily unhealthy or a wrong goal, but more like, why do this for you? you know, and sometimes I try to elicit things like, well, I want to take care of myself. You know, I want to be healthy. You know, my cholesterol is a little high and it would be great to bring that down, and exercise will help do that. And also energy level. You know, most people say when they're exercising regularly, of course, after a tough workout, you know, you're a little fatigued in certain ways. Right. But, you know, overall, they have more energy. They tend to think more. They're thinking more clearly. You know, most people say that at the end of even not even a week here, usually like a few days, and you might hear some of this too from, you know, just working with people in the gym, you know, but people tell me like, gosh, I haven't felt this good in a really long time, you know, and it doesn't even take that long. It's a few days here, and I'm thinking so much more clearly, and I'm sleeping better. We don't hear that from everybody, but, you know, from a lot of people. So that also then is such a great reinforcer, you know, I'm feeling better. Maybe I haven't lost any pounds yet, but I have more energy. I'm thinking more clearly, you know, I'm noticing my mood is a little bit better. So, you know, that also can really serve to be a great motivator.
Yeah, it's like goals it's like goals in different ways. It's like goals for like actual physically things, and goals to help them feel better. You know, it's a good, and I think we can do better as just overall as health, like combining the behavioral side with exercise, because they say it all the time. Okay, exercise, you're supposed to. Like, do this, you're supposed to feel better, but sometimes they don't. So there's a way we combine the two concepts to really make it, because people have trouble getting into the door. They know what to do when they get in, but how can I get them in the door? You know, like what's something that's making them not be able to do that? And that's something that we can really focus on as we've been doing. I think we've been doing a pretty good job here, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially after the lectures, they'll come in and do a class right after, and it's really inspiring to see that just a little talk did something that small, you know. So.
Here at the Pritikin Center, it's like rainbows and unicorns. All you gotta do is show up, and everything is planned and prepared for you. But when you get home, get ready for those lions and tigers and bears. Whether you're racing out the door to work and skipping breakfast, or glued to the Zoom call and no time for lunch, or maybe you're in retirement and every day is a holiday. The solution? You need a plan. My name is Kara. I've been a registered dietitian for over 20 years, and I've helped thousands of clients create sustainable plans that stick. At the Pritikin Center, we offer a one-to-one remote nutrition coaching program with me. Together, we will create a customized plan that addresses your lifestyle, your health markers, and any of those derailers that lead you astray. Support and accountability can be the difference between finding success and constantly chasing after it. Sign up today for more information about Pritikin at Home Concierge Nutrition Program.
You know, sometimes something that makes it really hard for people to be motivated is they're at work all day, and that takes a lot of time. You know, where do we spend most of our waking hours? It's probably at the workplace. And then especially for people who then may have other obligations, such as, you know, kids, or they're taking care of somebody else, or you know, they've got somewhere else they need to be, or something after work or before work. It's hard to fit it all in. So one of the things, and this is also where, you know, maybe you can shed some light here too, you know, that I often suggest to people who may not feel like they have that like big chunk of time, you know, either like maybe first thing in the morning before work, or kind of at the end of work, you know, and especially if people have kids or other obligations, you know, at the end of the workday, they've got to take care of those things. Is, you know, what about kind of breaking it up over the course of the day? You know, if they don't have that big chunk of time, you know, what would be some ways that they could think about that? And does that help, you know, Yeah.
So especially you're talking about the workplace, you know, one thing that I've noticed is a lot of people have jobs that they're sitting all day.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times you're not really supposed to be sitting in that one position for a long time. So one of the things that we recommend, you know, maybe just getting up and down from a chair, like maybe you do 10 squats on a chair, like something that's very basic, walk around. Or a lot of people now work from home. You know, there's desks that have standing desks, you know, so they can stand up and do things. So they're not necessarily sitting down all day, but they have the option to maybe walk away for a second. But when you're sitting down, sometimes you're so glued to what you're doing, you kind of forget, like, oh, I should probably like get up for a second. Or even sometimes when people are sitting, like move around. Like even like when you know how when people drive, they usually, oh, my back hurts after a while.
Yeah.
A lot of times if they just sat in that position for a really long time for 4 hours, that's probably what hurt it. Not necessarily the car or the seat, but sometimes it's being in position. So moving around.
And probably a lot of people aren't in very good posture positions, right? Like if they're slouching a lot.
Right. And then the chairs they make aren't very ergonomically set, you know,
Right.
so sometimes they're too low or too high, or the seat's too far back. So there's a lot of, it's kind of, and desks, sometimes they're too low or too high. Like they have a cooking table and they have to bend over and do the cooking, or they have to slouch over because the seat doesn't fit into the table that they bought for the work office. So it's hard to combat that. But what we can focus on as in the workplace, like I always think if you're able to do some exercises, like say like 30 minutes, that can help make you feel more comfortable in the workplace, because it's hard to combat 8 hours of sleep, sitting for 1 hour of a workout a day. It's kind of hard to combat that. So staying physically active as much as you can, walking around. Maybe you park a little bit farther from the workplace, so you have to walk towards it, taking the stairs.
I also taking the stairs.
Yeah,
talk about that.
It's hard to combat 8 hours versus 30 minutes to an hour. So
right. So actually, it really does help if people think about getting up every so often and moving during the course of the day. Because even if they do it, from what you're saying, it sounds like even if they do have that kind of big chunk of time, they'll benefit a whole lot more if they can also just get up every now and then. And maybe people discount that. Yeah. You know, probably, right? They're thinking like, oh, I get my big workout in.
And then I'm good. Yeah.
Right. But then they discount like all those little things that really do add up, right?
Because physical activity is a little bit different than exercise, you know, like that's why people do the step counting, you know, they want to stay active. Right. You know, it's hard. Like you can technically still work out 3 times a week and not really be, you can still be sedentary. I worked out for an hour and I sat for 8 hours a day. And I only worked out 3. So I did 3 hours of the week doing something. The rest I sat down for 8 hours per the week. So that
would really be pretty sedentary.
That's pretty sedentary, even though you work out 3 times a week. So
that's a really important message, I think.
So the physical activity is key, you know, just doing something, moving around, maybe get up and down from the stairs. You know, you can maybe do some stretches, you know. I have had some people I always say do body weight squats, because that's something that's a form of exercise you're always gonna have to do. There's chairs. I used to say there's toilets. You got to get up from the toilet seat. So doing those little, and you don't have to sit low, but something like that, it's still strengthening the legs, but it's keeping you up and down. So your hips not so much in a flex position all the time. Yeah, it's true. You know, so little things like that can make a long way. Maybe you did 10 squats every hour, 10 bodyweight squats, took a walk to get a water, sat back down, went back to work. If you did that 4 times, you did 40 squats just now. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And it can add up pretty quick, and you don't even think about it. That adds up, and you're not even thinking about it, And that's something else I think about too with regard to stress. You know, is, you know, getting up, walking away from the email every now and then. You know, maybe even get outside if you can get outside. Take a little walk up and down the sidewalk or around the block or something. Just a little mental breather as well, I think is really important. No, definitely. Yeah, especially in the stress in the work, if it's hard to combat that as well too. So we got to figure out ways to, what can we do to fit in the time that we have? Because like you're saying, you might be working 8 hours a day. That day it's just super stressful. You might not feel like going out or doing anything after, you know. So what can I do in the workspace to kind of help relieve that stress? So maybe like you said, you look away from the screen, you know, because sometimes the blue light and the screen can affect too. So maybe I take 10 minutes, I close my eyes, I take some deep breaths. You know, something that can be so simple to reduce the stress level. It's like, actually feel fine after. I took some deep breaths, counted to 10. Even though it sounds like arbitrary, but it's true. Like something simple as that can make a big difference to somebody's stress levels. So if we exercise more often, even just getting up and moving more often, you know, we probably have a better mood. I mean, and we know that things happen in the brain. You know, such as endorphins, dopamine, which is a feel-good, mood-boosting neurotransmitter. And also, very long word here, but here it comes, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is sometimes called miracle-grow for the brain because of how well it protects your neurons. And that's a big, you know, kind of mediating factor between what we've long known is there's a strong relationship between regular exercise and better cognitive functioning and better mood. And this brain-derived neurotrophic factor seems to be a big player in that relationship. So, you know, the point is, if we're more physically active, there are a whole lot of really amazing things that happen in the brain that improve our mood and can kind of keep stress level at bay and keep us more kind of resilient to stressors as well.
So if we exercise more, eat better, all those things, sleep well, we might also enjoy our jobs more, and some people might be in jobs that they don't really love. And sometimes that happens. And sometimes those are stepping stones onto other things. And, and some people don't have as many job options, work options. And hopefully someday they'll have more, but at least if we're in something we don't really love doing, we can do things like be more active and take better care of ourselves. And that might make it just a little bit better.
And question, would you recommend, so like, for example, like you're saying, some people might not enjoy their job all the time, but some people enjoy certain things. Do you recommend maybe instead of thinking of the home approach, like, oh, I have to work out, or I have to do this, or I have to do that, it's kind of like an all-encompassing look. Maybe they implement little things throughout the week. So maybe they do 30 minutes of a TV show that they like, maybe 30 minutes of they want to cook, like they like cooking, maybe implement that once a week instead of thinking like, I want to do all these things, like finding ways to seep it into your schedule in a way. So now you're at least doing more things that you like, but it doesn't seem like it's overwhelming because you've done it on days it's kind of sporadically. So you're technically doing more, even though it's like less because it's not like, I'm not doing this, that, I'm not eating, like for example, like I want to eat a cookie, I eat the whole box. It's like I moderate by eating one cookie that week. But I'm still getting the thing that I would want in per se. Does that make sense?
I think so. Well, if I understand what you're saying, and correct me if I don't, but like kind of building in little pleasurable events, like, in the course of your week, right? And especially for people, sometimes I talk about this in one of the talks I do, especially if so much of their focus is on food as pleasure. And this is what we hear from a lot of people is, it's like the only thing I have to look forward to. I mean, and sometimes that's a bit drastic, but although some people said that kind of in the midst of the pandemic when, there were, kind of lockdowns or, or they felt like they really couldn't go anywhere or do anything. They're like, food's the only thing I look forward to, or alcohol and food is the only thing I look forward to. So, but we still hear that from some people, kind of like it's such a big part of, takes up so much space in their mind. And so, incorporating these seemingly small things. And I would also include that little walk outside, it doesn't have to be seen as like, oh, I have to go take a walk for exercise, but kind of like, oh, I get to go do this and breathe in some fresh air and maybe, look at the beautiful sky. Or I know I'm sounding kind of ridiculous, but these seemingly little things that hopefully kind of round out your day. I don't know if this is where you're going to.
Yeah, because someone kind of likes walking.
Right.
Like, that's something that they're not thinking it's exercise. It's I'm getting to do a task that I enjoy, which is X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Right. And then also, in the workplace, so we're talking about ways to, take a breather from work. But even in the workplace, even if you don't really love your job, what are a couple of things that are enjoyable? Hopefully there's at least something that somebody finds, that's not too bad. That's okay. Or at least maybe another person that you enjoy chatting with, and then maybe trying to do that a little more often, or when it's happening, when that particular work task is happening, that you think like, okay, this is okay. I don't mind doing this. Or you're talking with that one coworker that you kind of enjoy talking with, really enjoying that experience. And also that then, that feels like at least there's a little more kind of pleasure in the day rather than things not being so fun, and and then you feel more stressed and worse mood.
Thank you for listening to the Healthier Everyday podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. If you're interested in learning more about the Pritikin Longevity Center and how the physician-led team of wellness professionals have been helping people for almost 50 years, visit Pritikin.com. That's Pritikin.com.